Hello, Mama, and welcome back to Bibles, Babies, and Business. This is your Master Mom on how to move from surviving to thriving so that you can live an abundant life. For the next 30 minutes, we are going to do an overview on your bod and your brain from a medical perspective. Whether you chose an OBGYN or a midwife, there are some medical things happening to you right now that we want to address as soon as possible. My name's Nancy, and I am the founder of B3. And as you might know, I am not a medical professional. I'm just a mom of two who's here to support and encourage you. So let's dive right in. Last time, we introduced you to this concept of the B3 balance wheel to help you lead an abundant life. And today, we are going to answer the question, am I healed? I have a pretty funny story to tell you, and we're going to revisit that balance wheel to see if we can move the needle just a little bit today. We have an awesome interview with one of my mommy friends who is an OBGYN, and we're going to end our time with scripture and prayer. Remember, you can pause this video and write in your journal whenever you need to. This is your gift and your time for yourself to fill your own cup. Here we go. The big question for this video is, are you healed? What does that even mean after having a baby? Is your vagina healed? What about the episiotomy that you had? Or maybe your cesarean scar, your engorged breasts, or the brain pathways that you now have? There are so many moving parts to answer this 3-word question. Well, the easy answer is if you are still wearing one of those really fashionable adult diapers that have a frozen pad in between your legs, then the answer is probably no. But what about after that? Before we answer that, let me tell you a story. How many of you received a boppy pillow at your shower? You know, that crescent-shaped pillow? I got one as a hand-me-down from a friend. Well, did you know that that pillow is so magical and versatile? It's not just for babies. It's for mom too. And if it isn't, I made it so. This is my first child, Gabby. She is so feisty and has been from day one. Even her delivery was feisty. I had 1 epidural, 2 nursed shift changes, 16 hours of pushing, and countless liters of oxygen. That boppy pillow was not for Gabby. It was for mom. I sat on that boppy pillow for weeks like a donut because my nether region was so swollen that I could not sit down. And I remember when my girlfriends from work came to visit me and Gabby, and they were asking the big question, how was it? You know, the labor and delivery. I kept asking myself, when am I going to be healed? The bleeding, the swelling, the episiotomy, the hemorrhoids. I definitely needed some extra support down there, and that boppy pillow, it did the trick. Not everybody's labor and delivery story is like mine. Some of you might have been at home in a nice, relaxing, warm bath, and some of you guys might have been in a hospital with laughing gas and a surgeon. Regardless of your labor and delivery story, I know you're probably wondering, are you healed? To answer that question, let's first take inventory by revisiting our B3 balance wheel. Where are you at today? Let's focus on the body and the brain. On a scale of 1 through 5, how is your body feeling? What about your thoughts? Maybe you're a level 1, and that means that you would be happy to pee and poop the way you used to before baby came. I know I was there. Over the next few moments, you are going to have some expert advice coming your way that might help you move the needle from 1 to 2, or maybe 3 to 4, even 4 to 5. Wherever you are at today, I hope that this is going to encourage your progress. In a moment, we are going to be joined by Dr. Rachel Wykes, MD. She is a wife, a mom of 3, and a woman who loves God and loves science. She's also a dear friend. I met Rachel about 5 years ago in the Wiggle Room at our church. We became fast friends, and so I invited her over for my mom's coffee club where we did Bible studies on Saturday mornings. Well, only then did I realize that she is just as brilliant as she is beautiful. My new friend is one of the most sought-after OBGYNs in Southwest Florida. And we share a common passion for new mamas, just like you. So let's hear what Dr. Wykes has to say. Rachel, thank you so much for being here. I know that you are a busy mom and medical professional, and I know that you're seeing patients all of the time. So what do you want to say to these moms?
Well, thank you for having me. This is so awesome that you're doing this. I think it's such a needed service. I get to take care of moms in the office, but there's so much more happening outside. So to have access to good information like this and support and encouragement is just awesome. So thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, so we have their attention and they've taken time out of their busy day to invest in themselves, and they want to know more about this postpartum season, but there's some really important things that they need to be aware of right now. So what do you want to focus on today?
I really have felt a lot of passion for this unseen population of postpartum women. Everybody sees the bump. Everybody opens the door for you. Everybody asks when you're due, you have the glow.
Yeah.
The first time I went to the grocery store after my firstborn, I remember feeling so defeated because nobody offered to pick up a bag. Nobody offered to get the door. Nobody smiled at me.
And that's when you really needed it.
The most fatigued, exhausted, beat down. What am I doing? I don't, you don't even know what aisle you're in the store because you're so exhausted.
Exactly.
You don't even know what to make. It's really when you're kind of at the lowest point. Those first couple of weeks are so hard, and I just feel like society kind of stops caring. So we get to package women up in the hospital, and everybody's excited, and you give them all this paperwork, and you give them all these ton of information, but all they're focused on really is this sweet little baby. And
I didn't read it. Yeah. Did you read it? And actually, no. Yeah.
No. So nobody's reading it. You're gone. You don't come back to your doctor for 2 to 6 weeks, depending on what the plan is, and you're kind of alone.
Okay, so we have a captive audience. They have invested into themselves and they want to know more about this postpartum season that they're in, and they want to know, am I healed? What exactly do you want to talk to them about today?
That is a really great question, and that's a very comprehensive question, which I'm glad you have a whole team of women helping to answer this. But from the medical side, we kind of stick with the B's, just like you have been. Yes. So bleeding is one big key category that we want to talk about.
Okay.
Boobs.
Okay.
The breastfeeding, the bottle feeding, the boobs. Blues.
Okay.
Some of the mood changes that can kind of come along with things.
Right.
And then the booping are the boys and the birth control.
Okay.
Kind of all a package deal. Yeah.
That's right. All right. Let's talk about the bleeding, because this can be very overwhelming. What exactly should we be looking for?
Yes. So bleeding is just part of the deal. We're all women. We're all accustomed to this, but it's a little more than you've ever had to manage at one time. And it also can be kind of a scary to know, is this too much? Should I be worried? So when should you be worried? Postpartum hemorrhage is the leading killer of women who have babies worldwide. But luckily, living where we do, we have access to care professionals. And if you had a care team at your delivery, they probably prevented the problem before you ever even knew there was an issue. Once that placenta comes out, which is not fun, you think the baby's all of it, right? And then here comes the placenta, and then somebody's massaging on your belly, and I've been kicked in the face a couple times because I know it hurts, and I'm sorry, ladies, but I have to do it. Part of that massage helps to help the uterus contract down so those blood vessels are cinched into place. So kind of reining them in. There's also a medicine called Pitocin, which most people are familiar with. It's just oxytocin, the hormone that's made as soon as that baby latches. It's a bonding hormone, but it miraculously also helps to contract your uterus and control bleeding. Okay. Beautiful design, right?
Yeah.
So we give Pitocin immediately postpartum to help that uterus contract. So the immediate postpartum hemorrhage is usually handled.
Okay.
And if it does happen, you're in the hospital, but now you're home. So congratulations, you survived postpartum hemorrhage, right? There is something called delayed hemorrhage, though. This is what I want patients to be aware of.
All right.
If you start filling up a pad more than an hour, the pad is full for multiple hours in a row, that is not normal. You need to make a phone call.
Okay.
Anything less than that, it can still seem like a lot, but really it falls into the realm of normal. So you will notice it will come and go for up to 6 weeks.
Wow.
And you will notice it increases with your activity. So you're going to be resting the first few days, but as soon as you're up and ready to take that first walk outside, which is great, sunshine and exercise is a huge part of postpartum healing, you probably will notice clots.
Okay.
Clots are a sign that the bleeding is coagulating and healing, and it's evacuating. It doesn't belong in there anymore.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. It can be very scary to have that first clot in the shower, but anything less than like an apple or a plum size can be normal.
Okay.
If it continues and if it picks up, just give your doctor a call and for sure know that it's okay, because there can be sometimes retained parts of placenta. There can be infections. It kind of depends what your specific birth experience was like, what risk factors you might have for a delayed hemorrhage. But all in all, it's pretty rare, but it's definitely something to be aware of because things can escalate really quickly, which is another good reason to never really be alone when you're in this postpartum period, because if you need to make a phone call, if things aren't escalating, you need to get help quickly.
Right. Right. So that's really good. So I'm looking for filling a pad in an hour. And if that is your reality, then reach out to your midwife or your OB. Okay, so all of this blood can be really overwhelming. Is there anything else from a bleeding perspective that you want mom to know about?
Yeah, I think it's good to know that, it's going to come and go, and it changes. It's not always like that bright red blood or the dark red clots. It will start to develop like a yellowish hue.
Okay.
A discharge, like sometimes can have a funky odor, and sometimes change color. So it can be concerning for infection. This is normal, but if you do have a persistent discoloration or persistent odor or itching, irritation, tenderness on your belly, those are signs of infection. But if it's just a slight yellow hue, and a slight odor that comes and goes and resolves after 6 weeks, totally normal.
Okay, that's really good information. Okay, so let's say the bleeding is under control and we know what's normal versus not normal and when to reach out for help. But these things, they are unreal and they've never been this big before. So talk to us about the boobs.
You spend 9 months preparing for a baby, but that's like the easy part. The boobs are like a whole new situation that I feel like most women are completely shocked by. So yes, let's talk about that. Okay. That's a very good thing to be aware of. And you're probably in it now. If you're at home right now with a baby, you've probably felt engorgement at some point. Or, obviously the choice of how to feed your baby is kind of a personal choice and a highly debated choice. And one of those things you get 100 opinions on from everyone else.
Yes.
So my first advice would be make your choice. Yes. Make your choice that works for you.
Yes.
Feel good about it. Have an informed choice. Have a supported choice. No choice should be made in a silo all by yourself because you're going to crumble. You're going to feel guilty. You're going to feel regret, whether it's breast or bottle. It's a tough choice. So just pick one and feel good about it,
Yes.
Medically, I think breastfeeding does have superior nutrition for the baby. Breast milk is as good as it gets, perfectly designed for your baby. Formula is very close second. It's really good for babies as well. It just doesn't have that personalized touch, right? So if you're able to breastfeed, which I think is awesome for all women to be empowered, informed, yes, it's natural, but it's not always easy. So if that's a priority for you, you're watching this postpartum. So I would give you this advice during the pregnancy of do your research so you know what you want to do and make that choice and just try to stick it out. If you chose to breastfeed, congratulations. And you're probably struggling. Hopefully not, but you probably are. It's really hard. You're going to get that engorgement when the milk comes in, and you're also going to get hormone fluctuations that represent menopause and puberty within like 5 hours of themselves.
Oh my goodness, yes.
You're going to get night sweats, hot flushes, and pain and swelling, and it's very uncomfortable. Parts of that are very normal, but what's not normal is a clogged duct, because that can lead to mastitis and real illness. So if you're noticing that you're having redness, pain on one segment of your breast that actually usually forms like a triangle where the duct is trickling back, you need to work and massage that puppy out as soon as you can. And the best way to do that is put your baby to that boob. Mm-hmm. Just keep nursing through it, pump through it, resolve that clogged duct. Another thing that can come in handy is a vibrating toothbrush or a vibrator of other sorts right on that duct. Like massage it out, loosen it up, let that milk flow.
Right.
That's probably the most common, complication that can really be painful and troublesome.
Okay.
So work through the ducts, prevent mastitis. If you do find yourself with mastitis, which is really red, high fevers, very sick, chills, you got to call us right away. You got to get that treated. It can form rarely into abscesses, require surgical intervention, but hopefully we can catch it. I like catching things before they're a problem.
That's right.
Other things to know with breastfeeding are it's really important to stay hydrated enough. People talk about it's a great way to lose weight. Not always. It does consume about 500 calories a day on average to support a baby, which is great. So you're going to find yourself hungry, but you're not really going to find yourself wanting to cook or prep meals. So a lot of women do have meal prep help and, friends that step in. I'm a big fan of liquid nutrition and having those options throughout your house, little nursing stations that have your phone charger and ice waters and smoothies with some
ready
protein
to go
and spinach and all that stuff that you're probably not taking the time to eat a well-balanced meal, but you can get it in a smoothie. So big fan of smoothies, hydration, get enough calories in to support that baby. Another pet peeve of mine, well, mom guilt is probably the biggest pet peeve of mine, but I'm guilty of it all the time as well. But a lot of women overanalyze, is my baby fussy and gassy because of something I ate or did? I had a cup of coffee, oh no. I ate some spinach or some broccoli or some gassy food, oh no. Don't beat yourself up. The studies continually show what you put in, your body magically filters out and gives your baby what it needs. So stop beating yourself up. Drink a cup of coffee, have a glass of wine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Babies are just kind of gassy, grunty creatures, regardless of what you just ate and drank. So even a lot of medications, I think women are overtold pump and dump. Very rarely do you need to pump and dump. Very, very. Please run this by a breastfeeding specialist before you waste that precious liquid gold.
Liquid gold, I know.
Gold. Yes.
So for moms that have chose to breastfeed, your mental health and your happiness is the most important part.
Yes.
So if you choose to breastfeed, but then at some point you have to stop because you are driving yourself crazy, it's okay.
The mental load of breastfeeding, there's really no way to prepare for it. You die to yourself when you have a baby. There's no doubt. You rebuild back up better and stronger, but when you breastfeed, you are at the mercy of that baby on demand. It's nursing on demand. It's feeding on demand.
That's right.
And it is literally on demand. Your only freedom comes immediately after you've nursed. You get this window of freedom to use wisely as you wish. But there's no telling when that baby's going to be hungry again.
That's
Typically,
right.
They get to like a 3-hour interval, but it really is a mental health drain. It's really hard for the partner to help. It's really hard for your mother-in-law to help who really wants to give that baby a bottle.
I know.
Really hard. So pumping can buy you some freedom with that, right? If that works for you, if you're planning to go back to work and want to pump, I would advise to start that early. Start saving up a little milk stash in the freezer. But part of the decision to breast or bottle feed, I think, is some self-awareness and understanding the anxiety and mental strain that can come with that, because bottle feeding offers a lot more freedom and a lot more release of all of that pressure on you.
Okay, so let's talk about bottle feeding.
Yes.
Even bottle-fed babies, the boobs are still at play here.
Yes.
So for a mom that has made the choice to integrate formula, what's going on with her boobs?
Yes. Your breasts are constantly trying to figure out your baby's needs, right? Your body is trying to sync up. So it's all supply and demand. So if you are integrating formula, or if you just decide, I have some patients that just kind of decide like this, breastfeeding is not for me. I want to bottle feed from the gates, and that's fine. I love when you have an informed choice and you're confident with it, because you're going to get pressure from the other side. Why aren't you doing this? I can't believe you're not doing that. You got to feel confident with your choice, right? So if you're choosing not to utilize breastfeeding at all, I would recommend just wearing a sports bra and don't touch them.
Okay.
Stimulation is going to cause production, which is going to cause engorgement, clogged ducts, if it's not released, problems. So just don't touch them.
That's right.
So
the no-no zone for a little while.
Nobody's touching this. No.
Okay.
But if you want to find a combination, which is kind of nice, maybe the best of both worlds, you still just kind of got to regulate out the system, which again, it's supply and demand. So try to pick up consistencies like a bottle of formula at nighttime and train your breasts that you're not nursing through the night. Then you can sleep through the night. It's a really beautiful thing. Your husband can give the baby a bottle, or your mother-in-law, or your night nurse, or whatever you have arranged. God bless you. Get a good night's sleep.
That's right. That's right.
And your body will learn. So it kind of just comes up to creating these habits and training your body, and it will follow suit.
Rachel, what I love is that you are asking these moms to just own their decision.
Yes.
Whatever it is that you decide to do, stick with it. Tell your partner, tell your friends, and just be confident in the decision that you have made for your family. So our bleeding is under control. The boobs, we know what to expect. But there's a whole lot of crazy stuff going on in the brain. So what is this concept of baby blues?
Yes, I'm glad you brought this up. This is a really important issue that women at home if there was one thing I could pick to be aware of, it's this. And blues are very normal. You're going to cry at a Pampers commercial. You're going to cry because your coffee was cold. You're going to cry because you feel like a terrible mom because the baby popped out of that swaddle again. And you just can't, why do they keep biting me on the swaddle? Just stick with the swaddle. Yeah. But you're going to cry. You're going to be tearful. You're going to laugh. You're going to yell at your husband because you got the wrong groceries, whatever. Those things the first 2 weeks, totally normal. Again, menopause, puberty. Your hormones are fluctuating like crazy. You also can get some chemical imbalances working against you. We know that women who have had a history of any kind of anxiety or depression through their lives are at a little bit higher risk of this. There's also social factors, if there's no supportive partner, if you live away from family and friends, everybody has kind of a unique risk profile, but just give yourself some self-awareness that you might be at risk and be hyper aware. Let some friends know, help me watch for signs of this. Let your husband know. A lot of times other people will notice it before you. So again, keep your community tight and keep communicating. But if you start to feel like lingering sadness after those first 2 weeks, that's not normal. We really want that addressed.
So last week we learned that 1 in 5 women can suffer from postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety. And there's 2 of us here. So if we double the amount of people in this room, one of us is in that category where is lingering depression. Yes. So how do you test for this? What's normal crying at the Pampers commercial versus something that they should call a psychologist or even their OB or midwife? How do we test for it?
Yeah, that's a great question and such a good point that if you didn't suffer from depression and anxiety, your friend did.
Right.
Someone did. So please be aware of this, So our normal screening tool is Siggy Caps, but that starts with sleep. How's your sleep? How's your interest? Do you feel guilty about anything? Hello, you just had a baby. You're not sleeping. What were my hobbies before? Yes, I feel guilty about everything. Energy level, that's the next screening for a normal depression screen. Yeah, my energy is awful. So the normal depression doesn't, you're kind of already set up for it, right?
That's right.
But it's normal. You expected that.
You're failing all of those tests.
Yes. So for postpartum moms, we have a little bit of a different tool that we use. It's called the Edinburgh Depression Screening Tool. You can find this online. You can kind of read through some of the questions on your own. If things that made you excited before, are you still looking forward to some of those things? Do you still like to bake a pan of brownies and eat them? Does that bring you joy? Did it bring you joy before? Does it not anymore? That's a red flag. Things that you used to get excited about, The Bachelor new season. Are you excited about it? No. And most women know that. They want to be excited about those things again, but there's just this kind of chemical balance fighting them. And no, it's not normal, So that's one big thing. The other thing is, if you feel like things are just kind of getting on top of you, you just feel like you can never quite move the needle for the day. It doesn't matter what you did all day. It's very common when you're home with kids. It's 5 o'clock, your husband got home and you're like, the house is still a mess.
I did nothing today.
What did I do today?
Yes.
But you did. You
did so much.
You did so much. But if you continually feel like things are piling up on you and you're never, getting ahead, that's another kind of red flag for postpartum depression and anxiety. Those are some of the big ones.
What about laughing?
It would be lovely to laugh at the things you always laughed at. There is so much humor in all of this. If you aren't laughing when your baby hiccups, that might be a red flag, right? There's some hilarious things with these little grunty little babies and hilarious things happening between your marriage and your body. And hopefully you can look back and laugh. If you're not finding laughter and you're finding more of a dark cloud wherever you go, even into happy places with your friends, church, things that you enjoy doing. If that dark cloud is following you, it's time to get help.
Okay. So when was the last time you laughed? Or when was the last time that you got excited about something that used to bring you joy before that baby was born? And are you feeling overwhelmed about the things that you didn't do instead of celebrating all of these new and exciting small wins? Let's take a moment to reflect in our journal and answer some of those questions. All right, so now that we have our bleeding under control, we have our boobs under control, and we know the difference between baby blues and just emotions as a new mom. These are all really great things, but what about that guy that helped us bring the baby into this world, right? What about our boo?
Yeah. The boo. A very important part. It's so important to remember how this all started and to cherish that relationship that love is what made this baby.
That's right.
But this baby needs you to live, and he doesn't. So sometimes it's easier to forget about them and focus on the baby, but please don't. It's a normal feeling, but they need you to. So at some point, believe it or not, you're going to want to get naked with your husband again, with your boo.
Yeah.
And I get the question a lot, when am I ready? So the general advice has always been 6 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 weeks. Well, it's not like a one-size-fits-all approach, right? This is kind of like a sports injury where, you sprained your ankle and you went back in 6 weeks to play, but you still weren't ready to play. Sometimes the only way to know is to just
try it out.
But you have to set some ground rules first. So when you're breastfeeding and your estrogen levels are a little bit off, or even if you're not breastfeeding and things aren't quite healed, vaginal dryness is really common. Pain can be really common. So definitely using a lot of lubrication for that first time. Coconut oil is my favorite.
Okay.
Good old fashioned organic coconut oil from
Love
the grocery store. Lather it on and set the ground rules of, if it hurts, we stop.
Yeah.
You go slow. If it hurts, you stop. If you enjoyed it, you're ready. If you're starting to have thoughts of sex, that's a good time that your body is ready. Your brain and your body are very closely synced up. So pay attention to those things. And typically when I ask women about birth control, the first response is, I am never having sex again. What are you talking about, crazy lady? They get this look like I have 3 heads. And I'm like, see you in a few months. So it is possible to get pregnant again immediately after you have a baby.
Hello.
Lovely walking example. And babies are a blessing.
Yeah.
It's great to have your children are beautiful and super close friends, right? But it's really stressful.
It is.
And it's fine if that's what you want. Some women are ready to have a pizza, have another baby, let's go. But if that's not you, if you're a little overwhelmed, if you're a little bit human and normal, let's just slow our roll a little bit. And it's good to be aware of your options, right? So birth control options, you can take birth control immediately after the placenta is out. There are some forms that you can immediately have. Progesterone only is the safest after delivery because your risk of blood clots and thromboembolism is higher. It's the highest the first 6 weeks after a baby.
Okay.
So we try to avoid additional estrogen. So some progesterone only options are the Depo-Provera shot, the micro, the mini pill, it's just progesterone only, and an IUD. Some IUDs can be placed immediately after the baby comes out. And those give you 5 to 10 years of protection if you know that you're done after this.
Right.
Which is one of my favorite options. And then at that 6 week, I think it's a really good thing to think about, talk with your partner, and kind of be prepared at that 6 week visit when most women are ready to get back into the game of sexuality, though it's, still going to be a little bit different. You're not going to go right back to the
the fun you used to have.
Yeah. It's a little different. It's going to be, but it's still good. Right?
Yeah.
So it's good to have that conversation with your provider and be considering your options before that appointment.
That's really good advice, because maybe right now you're feeling like, I don't want him to touch me ever again. I know that's how I felt. And yet my kids are 11 months apart and I have Irish twins. And so I love that Rachel is encouraging us to have this conversation with our partner and to have this conversation with your medical professional right after baby is born. So whether you feel like jumping into the sheets right away or whether you think that that's not going to happen for a little while, we're going to talk about intimacy in another week, but think about birth control. Are you ready to do this all over again? So Rachel, this is brilliant. I really appreciate you sharing, but I'm just wondering, as a medical professional, is there anything else that you want to share with these mamas?
Yeah, the other message I just really, really wish I could get every mom to genuinely feel is to stop feeling guilty. Don't let society tell you that you're a bad mom because you wanted to have an ice cream cone before you nursed, or a glass of wine, or that you had your baby out in the sunshine too long, or that you didn't put socks on your child in church. You're going to get all kinds of comments, all kinds of advice. It's helpful to have like a Papa Bear to defend those haters away when somebody looks offended at you that you whipped your boob out at dinner at the restaurant. You do you. You're kicking butt. You're an awesome mom taking care of that baby. Stop feeling guilty.
Okay, Rachel, your insight has been invaluable. And there are so many things like the coconut oil that I wish I would have known about. But we've covered a lot, and we're going to double click and triple click into the brain, into boo, and into body in some of the other videos. But talk to mom. What do you want her to know?
Talk to mom. Man, I took care of women for 5+ years before I became a mom myself. And I think there's just so much you don't know about how much it really changes who you are. You will never be the same. You'll never be the same. there's some sadness with that, with kind of like maybe you'll never fit into that outfit quite the same. And maybe you'll never go right back to the same volleyball team that you really liked playing on. Or, you can make a list of those. Consider those things that are just closed chapters for right now.
Yeah.
But you are kind of like this caterpillar cocoon phase. There's a little squeeze. It's kind of uncomfortable. But hopefully you will build back up and celebrate what your body just did for you.
Yes.
What kind of woman, what is more feminine and beautiful and amazing than birthing a child?
Nothing.
So just celebrate you, celebrate your marriage, celebrate your love, celebrate the community that you're going to bring this child into, and give yourself a pat on the back, give yourself a little grace, and carry your head high with confidence of your choices, and get the help that you need when you need it. There's a whole community out there. You're not alone. I think so many women feel isolated and alone, but you're not. There's so many of us out there. And I felt that as a mom, but luckily I get to go to work and talk with, 10 other moms who are in the same place of life. And I'm like, okay, we all got this.
Yes,
we got this.
You do.
And it's just a season. You will come back better, stronger. Your kids eventually put their own shoes on, right?
Yes,
I mean, how
the
great is that?
independence. That's right.
Yes, this is a very needy time, but you will come back better than ever.
Better than ever. And so if you are feeling alone, you're not. Reach out to your medical professional. Reach out to us at Bibles, Babies, and Business. And we're celebrating you. Rachel's celebrating you. Bibles, Babies, and Business is celebrating you. You celebrate you too. Isn't she great? I hope that Dr. Wykes filled you up today. She's not the only one with advice and encouragement about childbirth. Did you know that the scripture actually tells us exactly what we should expect after childbirth? Let me share 2 verses with you today. This first one, it's going to be a little bit intimidating, but you just lived through it. So we're going to go all the way back to the beginning in Genesis. It's Genesis 3:16, and here's what it says. I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor, you will give birth to children. Your desire will be only for your husband, and he will rule over you. Now, there is so much to unpack in just that verse, and the second part is something that we're going to cover in the Boo video when we talk about marriage. But for now, we know that it's going to be painful. You knew that getting into it. We also know that it's not easy. Childbirth was given to women specifically because of Eve's decision to be tempted by the devil. Not only was she tempted, but she influenced her husband to sin along with her. Hence, we're the ones that get to have the baby. But God is with us. He was there in the Garden of Eden, and he is with us here today as we go through labor and delivery and postpartum. He didn't stop there. Now let's fast forward to the other end of our Bible in John 16:21. It tells us a woman is giving birth to a child and will have pain because her time has come. But when her baby is born, she forgets the anguish because of the joy that she has bringing a child into this world. Now, it might be too fresh for you to believe this and to focus on the joy and to forget the anguish that you are feeling right now and that you just went through. I remember after Gabby was born, I looked at my husband and I said, I will never do this again. But guess what? 11 months later, I did. And you might. Rachel did it 3 times. Looking back, that anguish was well worth it because now I have the joy of both Gabby and Gio. And you have the joy of your little bundle too. Will you pray with me, Mama? Just close your eyes, make some space, and let's talk to God. Dear Heavenly Father, we know that long ago women made a decision to sin. And we know that because of that, we are the ones responsible for reproducing and bringing human life to this world. Thank you for that gift, for that responsibility. We understand that it is going to be painful, but you designed us to do this. And I pray that every mama hearing this prayer knows that you were with her when that child took its first breath, and knows that you are with her right now in any pain or anguish she feels in her breasts, in her stomach, in her vagina, anywhere, even in her mind. Let her know that you are there with her and that she is not alone. Let her get excited about the joy that is to come while that baby takes its first step, while that baby goes to kindergarten, when they dance with those children at their wedding. There is so much joy in store for this new mama. Let her be excited about it and let her know that she is not alone and you are with her. In Jesus' name, we pray. Amen. God is with you and you are not alone. If you are feeling more anguish than joy today, will you reach out to us? All you have to do is go on Facebook and join the B3 Babes community. That Facebook group has over 200 moms who are going to encourage you and share some of their anguish and share some of their joy. We would love to hear any questions or concerns that you have. Please reach out because Dr. Wykes and your OB and B3, we all want to help you thrive in this season. On behalf of Dr. Wykes, myself, and everyone here at the B3 community, thank you for investing this short amount of time into yourself today. Thank you for being a part of the B3 community. See you on the next video.